Love didn't disappear. It changed its hands. It learned how to hold us, and that's how it survived. We held on longer than we should have, not out of fear but hope. We believed love could stretch forever, even when it was already tired of being pulled out. Felt the shift before the silence, before the distance grew. And loving you felt like realizing that staying was starting to hurt us more than the truth. I thought letting go meant failing, that love had to stay to be real. I didn't know love could change its shape just to stop hurting us both and still feel. When love learned to let go, it didn't leave in pain. It loosened its grip gently so we could breathe again. No anger, no final breaking scene, just care learning when to stop. When love learned to let go, it wasn't giving up, it was choosing peace over holding on too long. We stopped asking the same questions, stopped promising what we couldn't give. We learned how to listen to the quiet, to the parts that no longer wanted to live. Inside the weight of almost, inside the effort to stay. And loving you felt like understanding that love sometimes means walking away without blame. I confuse endurance with devotion, staying with being strong. I didn't know love could be honest by admitting it doesn't belong like this anymore. When love learned to let go, it softened instead of broke. It stopped asking for more time, stopped keeping score. No loss dressed up as freedom, no truth we had to hide. When love learned to let go, it carried what was real forward and left the rest behind. Letting go isn't the opposite of love, it's love without fear. It's choosing not to drag someone through pain just to prove you care. I don't regret how deeply we loved, I just respect the moment. Love knew it was time to rest. Now I love with lighter hands, I don't grip what wants to go. I trust that love will stay if it's meant to grow. I still believe in love that lasts, in choosing someone true. But loving you taught me love becomes wiser when it learned when to let go of you. When love learned to let go, it gave us both our lives, not empty, not erased, just changed by what we survived. Our love again without forcing fate, without begging love to stay. When love learned to let go, it showed me that sometimes the bravest form of love is walking away. Some love doesn't end, it evolves. When love learned to let go, that's when I learned how to keep my heart whole. I was still holding the moment, you were already holding the future. future. That's when I knew we weren't standing in the same place anymore. You spoke like things were settling, like the hardest part was done. You sounded lighter every sentence, like relief had already begun. I was still sitting with the ending, still asking what went wrong. And loving you felt like reading the same page while you were already turning one. I thought we were healing together, the time was treating us the same. I didn't know one heart could move ahead while the other was still learning how to say your name. You were already moving on, and I felt it quietly, in the calm that lived in your voice, in the peace that didn't live with me. No anger, no sharp goodbye, just distance, learning how to show. You were already moving on, and I was still standing in the echo of what we used to know. You talked about new beginnings, it's like they didn't come from us. I listened like I understood you, even when my chest still hurt to trust. You had accepted the ending, I was still holding the thread. And loving you felt like watching someone walk forward while I was still saying things we never said. I confused your peace with forgetting, your calm with loving less. I didn't know healing could look this different and still be honest in this way. You were already moving on without meaning to leave me behind. You chose yourself with steady steps, I was still asking time. No race, no blame, no bitterness, just truth I had to face. You were already moving on, and I had to learn my slower healing wasn't a weakness, just my pace. Moving on doesn't mean you didn't care. Sometimes it means you grieved earlier. I don't resent you for finding the light, I just needed longer to find my way there. Love doesn't end evenly, and neither does letting go. Now I let myself move when I'm ready. I don't measure my healing by yours. I don't rush peace to look okay. I let what hurts close its doors. I still believe in love that chooses, it stays when it's real. But loving you taught me, just because someone's moving on doesn't mean what we had wasn't real. You were already moving on, and now I'm moving too. Not at your speed, not with your calm, but honest and true. I'm not behind, I'm just becoming at a rhythm that's mine. You were already moving on, and learning to move at my own pace is how I finally leave the past behind. Some people move forward quietly, some need time to feel it all. You were already moving on, and I am too. We never said too much. We never said too much. We never said enough. We love in the spaces between the lines. We spoke in careful sentences, left feelings just implied. You paused before saying my name. I'd read what you didn't decide. We learned how to soften the truth, how to avoid what might break. And loving you felt like understanding that silence was the language we both chose to speak. I thought subtle meant safer, that quiet love would survive. I didn't know what we didn't say was slowly living louder inside. We loved between the lines, and what we almost confessed, in glances that linger too long, in feelings we never addressed. No promises made or broken, just hearts reading signs. We love between the lines, but sometimes that's where love learns how to hide until it fades with time. Showed a care in indirect ways, and staying but not too close. I held my needs behind a smile, afraid they'd ask for more than you could hold. We mastered the art of restraint, called it being mature. And loving you felt like choosing what not to say, just to keep what felt unsure. I confused subtlety with depth, restraint with being kind. I didn't know love needs air to breathe, not just space to survive. Between the lines, we love between the lines, where clarity never stood. And maybe later, not right now, in words that sounded good. You weren't lying, I wasn't blind. We just didn't cross the sign. We loved between the lines, and never stepped fully into the truth we were avoiding the whole time. Between the lines is a quiet place, nothing demands, nothing risks, but love can't live forever. And what's implied, I don't regret how gently we cared. I just wish we'd been braver with our voices, before silence learned how to decide for us. Now I say what I feel when it's real. I don't leave love half-written. I know connection needs language, not just glances and intuition. I still believe in softness and grace, and love that listens too. But loving you taught me love deserves to be spoken, not hidden between the lines with you. We love between the lines, and that love was still real. But real love needs room to stand, needs words you're willing to feel. I'll love again without hiding truth, without reading signs. We love between the lines, and learning to speak my heart is how I finally step out of that space and into what's mine. Some love isn't lost, it's unread. We love between the lines, and now I choose love that's written clearly this time. You step back without making a sound. I stay, still standing on the ground. You stopped choosing. I kept showing up in the quiet, in moments that asked for care. I answered questions you never voiced. I stayed even when you weren't there. You pulled away in small excuses, called distance something you needed. And loving you felt like holding a place that no longer felt occupied by your heart. I thought staying meant commitment, that love was endurance and time. I didn't know staying alone was already a sign. I stayed where you didn't, when it got hard to remain, when love asked for effort, when closeness stopped feeling the same. No fight, no moment to blame, just absence settling in. I stayed where you didn't, and that's when I knew I was loving for two again. Conversation said you were just overwhelmed. I carried the weight of understanding while my needs waited on the shelf. You needed space to figure things out. I needed you to stay, and loving you felt like believing that patience would somehow close the distance you kept creating every day. I confused loyalty with silence, hope with being kind. I didn't know love shouldn't ask you to stay behind while someone else moves on in their mind. I stayed where you didn't, in the future we stopped naming, in conversations I kept alive while yours started fading. You weren't cruel, you weren't cold, just already letting go. Staying that long is how I learned love can survive on one soul. Staying isn't always strength, sometimes it's fear disguised as hope. I wasn't brave for holding on, I was afraid to admit I was standing alone. Love isn't proven by who stays the longest, but by together. And I stayed where you didn't, because I didn't yet know I deserve better. Now I listen when effort feels uneven, when presence doesn't return. I know love shouldn't feel like waiting for someone to relearn. I still believe in staying when it's mutual, but loving you taught me if I'm the only one staying, that's not love, that's me losing me. I stayed where you didn't, but I won't do that again. I won't build a future alone while someone is halfway gone. Our love again will stay in and shared wherever doesn't divide. I stayed where you didn't, and walking away now is how I finally stand on my own side. Although some people leave by not staying, I stayed where you didn't, and leaving that place is how I finally chose myself. You said you cared, I believed you. I just didn't know how sure you meant it. You loved me like it was a season, like something meant to pass. You stayed close but never settled, like you were already packing for what came next. I felt it in the way you hesitated, in futures you wouldn't name. And loving you felt like holding one that never promised it would stay. I thought uncertainty was caution, the time would make it clear. I didn't know love could feel this present and still disappear. Your love felt temporary, like I was borrowing time, like I mattered in the moment, but not in the long design. No cruelty, no sharp goodbye, just limits I couldn't change. Your love felt temporary, and I was loving you like I was meant to stay. You showed up when it was easy, pulled back when it felt real. You gave affection in measured doses, enough to let me feel. I learned not to ask for permanence, not to need too much. And loving you felt like shrinking hope, so it wouldn't scare your touch. I confused restraint with maturity, distance with being kind. I didn't know love shouldn't feel like something that expires in time. Your love felt temporary, in the way you held me loose. And now you never fully chose me, and all the doors you kept unused. You weren't lying when you said you cared, you just couldn't stay. Your love felt temporary, and that truth was what finally pulled me away. Temporary love teaches you how to live on edge, how to accept almost without calling it loss. I wasn't asking for guarantees, I was asking to be chosen, without wondering how long I was allowed to belong. Now I notice when love hesitates, when presence has a shelf life. I know love should feel like grounding, not like waiting for the end before the fight. I still believe in love that grows slowly, that stays because it wants to. But loving you taught me, if love feels temporary, staying only teaches your heart how to get used to leaving too. Your love felt temporary, and I honor that truth. Not with anger, not with blame, but with what it showed me about you. I'll love again when love stays longer, where care doesn't have an end. Your love felt temporary, and choosing myself is how I finally walk towards something permanent. Some love doesn't hurt because it ends. It hurts because it never planned to stay. Your love felt temporary, and now I choose something that lasts. We weren't careless, we weren't cruel. We were just two people trying to love without knowing how it would end. We spoke with good intentions, chose our words so they wouldn't bruise. We believed love would figure itself out if we just stayed patient and tried to be true. I held my heart a little tighter, you held yours just in case, and loving you felt like balancing between honesty and fear of what we couldn't face. I thought kindness would protect us, that care would keep us safe. I didn't know two gentle hearts could still cause pain by staying too long. We didn't mean to hurt each other, that's the hardest truth to hold. We were trying to protect ourselves while still not letting go. No blame, no hidden cruelty, just love misreading time. We didn't mean to hurt each other, but sometimes good intentions still leave scars behind. You stayed longer than you should have, I hope longer than was fair. You didn't want to disappoint me, I didn't want to ask you to be more than you were there. We kept choosing the softer silence, avoided what might break, and loving you felt like delaying the truth that was already away. I confused gentleness with safety, avoidance with being kind. I didn't know honesty delayed could hurt more than words spoken in time. We didn't mean to hurt each other, we just didn't know when to stop. We kept loving through misalignment, hoping the feeling wouldn't drop. You were wrong, I wasn't broken, we just weren't the same inside. We didn't mean to hurt each other, but loving without clarity is how the pain arrives. Not all pain comes from betrayal, some comes from staying gentle too long, from choosing peace in the moment over truth that needed to be said. I don't regret how carefully we loved, I just wish we trusted ourselves enough to let go sooner without guilt. Now I understand what kindness needs, not just silence, not just care. Love needs courage to end honestly, not just hope that it'll repair. I still believe in loving softly, in holding someone with grace, but loving you taught me even gentle love must know when to walk away. We didn't mean to hurt each other, and I make peace with that. Love doesn't fail because it ends, sometimes it completes its path. I'll love again with clearer truth, with courage I once delayed. We didn't mean to hurt each other, and understanding that is how I finally let the pain soften and fade. Some endings aren't about fault, they're about timing and truth. We didn't mean to hurt each other, and forgiving that is is part of healing for us both. You didn't push me away, you just stopped reaching back. And somehow that left me loving for two. I showed up in the quiet moments, in the spaces that needed care. I asked how you were really feeling. You said you were fine and left it there. I kept holding space for us, kept believing effort would return. And loving you felt like lighting candles in a room you no longer wanted to warm. I thought love meant patience, but staying meant I was strong. I didn't know being allowed to love alone was already something deeply wrong. You let me love you alone, and that's what broke my heart. Not the ending, but carrying us from the start. No fight, no cruel rejection, just absence, stress is calm. You let me love you alone, and I kept pretending that was enough to call it love. I softened my need to keep the peace, made myself easier to stay. I spoke less about what I was missing, so you wouldn't drift further away. You took comfort in my devotion and how I never asked for more. And loving you felt like standing guard outside a door you had already closed from the other side. I confused loyalty with silence, hope with being kind. I didn't know love shouldn't leave you doing all the loving by yourself. Over time, you let me love you alone in ways no one could see, in unanswered feelings and futures that only lived in me. You weren't cruel, you weren't cold, just already letting go. You let me love you alone, and staying that long is how I slowly lost myself for you. Loving alone is exhausting, it teaches you doubt. You keep wondering if you're asking too much or just not enough. I wasn't asking you to save me, I was asking you to meet me. And love shouldn't feel like begging someone to care at the same depth you do. Now I listen when love feels uneven, when effort doesn't return. I know love shouldn't feel like proving why I'm worth choosing. I still believe in love that shows up, that carries its share too. But loving you taught me if I'm the only one loving, that's not love, that's me disappearing for you. You let me love you alone, but I won't do that again. I won't build a future by myself while someone is halfway gone. I love again where love meets me fully, where hearts don't withdraw. You let me love you alone, and choosing myself is how I finally walk away with my heart still whole. Some love doesn't end loudly fade. It's because only one person was holding it. You let me love you alone, and learning to stop is how I finally begin again. It doesn't shock me anymore. It doesn't take my breath. Missing you feels familiar, like something I learned how to live with. I don't check my phone the way I used to. I don't wait for signs at night. Your absence doesn't feel like falling now. It just feels like part of my life. I notice you in ordinary places, not sharply, just there. And loving you feels like recognizing how quietly you stay with me, even after you weren't here. I thought missing someone meant breaking, that love would always ache. I didn't know it could soften into routine and still be real this way. Missing you feels familiar, like a song I know by heart, not loud enough to stop my day, just quiet in the background, no tears waiting on my chest, no questions left to chase. Missing you feels familiar, and that's how I know I've learned how to carry it without pain. I remember you without unraveling, without needing things to change. The past doesn't argue with me anymore, it just keeps its place. You're not the center of my longing now, you're not what I'm waiting for. And loving you feels like understanding why something real didn't need to stay, to still be more. I confuse quiet with emptiness, stillness with being done. I didn't know peace could feel like this after loving someone. Missing you feels familiar, like breathing slow down, not because you matter less, but because I found my ground. No hope dressed up as maybe, no future left to replay. Missing you feels familiar, and I let it stay this way. Familiar doesn't mean forgotten, it means accepted. It means a wound closed gently enough to stop asking for attention. I don't miss you to bring you back, I miss you because you were real. And being able to miss you calmly is how I know I heal. Now I move forward without resistance, without dragging yesterday along. I don't rush to replace what mattered, I let the quiet feel honest. I still believe in love ahead of me, and choosing something new. But loving you taught me some people stay familiar because they help shape who I grew into. Missing you feels familiar, and I'm not afraid. It means the love is settled, not vanished, not betrayed. I'll love again without erasing you, without reopening the wound. Missing you feels familiar, and that familiarity feels like peace. They settle in quietly. Missing you feels familiar. And now so does being okay. We didn't stop loving suddenly. We just stopped speaking about it. We used to fill the room with stories, plans that spilled past midnight hours. Now our words stay folded between us, like we were afraid to use too much power. I noticed how silence felt familiar, not awkward, just there. And loving you felt like learning how to sit in the quiet without asking if it meant we still cared. I thought comfort meant closeness, that calm meant we were strong. I didn't know two hearts could grow this quiet and still be slowly drifting apart. We grew quiet together, not broken, not unkind, just fewer words to reach each other, just less to say in time. No fight, no sudden distance, just love lowering its sound. We grew quiet together, and I didn't notice how much we'd lost until silence began to feel louder than we stopped asking the deeper questions, settled for how was your day. I kept my worries close to my chest. You learned what not to say. We called it peace, we called it safety, we called it understanding. But loving you felt like protecting something fragile by never touching it again. I confused quiet with harmony, stillness with being okay. I didn't know love needs conversation, or it slowly fades away. We grew quiet together in ways no one could see, in the pauses after laughter, in futures we stopped naming. You weren't wrong, I wasn't distant, we just stopped leaning in. We grew quiet together, and staying that way is how the ending quietly began. Quiet love can feel safe, it doesn't demand, but love also needs to be heard, needs to be named, needs to be felt out loud. I don't blame us for softening, I just wish we'd spoken sooner, before silence learned how to decide for us. Now I notice when love goes quiet, when words feel carefully thin. I know connection needs language, not just comfortable stillness settling in. I still believe in gentle love and calm that doesn't erase, but loving you taught me quiet shouldn't replace what needs to be said. We grew quiet together, and now I understand, not every ending is dramatic. Some just stop reaching hands. I'll love again where silence listens, but Truth still has a voice. We grew quiet together, and learning to speak my heart is how I finally make a different choice. Some love doesn't fall apart, it fades into quiet. We grew quiet together, and hearing myself again is how I move on. It wasn't sudden, it didn't announce itself. Love just started arriving with less of you each day. You still say my name the same way, still stay when the room felt quiet, but something in your presence softened, like love was learning how to be lighter. I felt it in the way you listened, and how quickly you looked away. And loving you felt like counting all the small moments where I mattered a little less each day. I thought love just changes pace, the distance didn't mean decline. I didn't know affection could slowly disappear while still standing by my side. You love me less each day, not enough to notice. At first, just fewer reasons to reach for me, just quieter ways it hurt. No fight, no breaking point, just effort learning to fade. You love me less each day, and I stay trying to give more to make up for what slipped away. You stopped asking how I was feeling, started assuming I'd be fine. You let me carry the weight of closeness, like love was no longer on your mind. I adjusted my needs to fit you, called patience something kind. And loving you felt like shrinking so you wouldn't feel guilty for leaving me behind in real time. And I confused endurance with devotion, staying with being strong. I didn't know loving alone was already something going wrong. You love me less each day, in the smallest unseen ways, in the warmth that didn't last as long. In futures you stopped trying to name, you weren't cruel, you weren't cold, just slowly letting go. You love me less each day, and I didn't realize how lonely love had become until it showed. Sometimes it withdraws, it teaches you to doubt yourself before you doubt the truth. I wasn't asking for more than love, I was asking for consistency. And love shouldn't feel like something you have to replace by trying harder. Now I notice when love changes weight, when effort doesn't return. I know love shouldn't feel like proving why I'm worth choosing. I still believe in love that deepens, that grows with time and care. But loving you taught me if love is shrinking each day, staying won't bring it back to where it was before. You love me less each day, and now I choose to leave. Not because it didn't matter, but because I finally see love shouldn't feel like fading light or waiting to be seen. You love me less each day, and choosing myself is how I finally step in. That something stays with me. Some love doesn't end loudly within. You love me less each day, and learning to stop waiting is how I finally begin again. I didn't hesitate, I didn't protect myself. I trusted you all the way down, deeper than I knew how to recover from. I believed the tone of your voice, the way you said you'd stay. I didn't read between the pauses, I took every word the way it lay. I let you see where I still bruise, where fear hadn't healed yet. And loving you felt like handing someone the parts of me I usually guard from regret. I thought trust meant safety, that closeness couldn't deceive. I didn't know trusting someone deeply could leave you alone with what you believe. I trusted you too deeply, with more than I could spare. With my faith, my softness, with love I didn't split or prepare. No backup plan, no quiet doubt, just truth laid at your feet. I trusted you too deeply, and losing you is learning how to stand on ground. There used to be you under me. I trusted your calm and certainty, your silence is something safe. I didn't question the missing effort. I thought love just changed its pace. I built my future around your present, never planned an exit door. And loving you felt like realizing I'd lean on something that wasn't steady anymore. I confused honesty with permanence, faith with being wise. I didn't know trust without boundaries could slowly erase my own side. I trusted you too deeply, in ways you never knew, in choices I made around you, in futures I quietly chose. You weren't cruel, you weren't false, just unable to hold it all. I trusted you too deeply, and sometimes that's what hurts the most, when love starts to fall. Deep trust doesn't ask for proof, it just believes. It assumes the ground will hold when you step forward. I don't regret trusting you, I regret not trusting myself. When something felt off and I stayed anyway. Trust you feel safe, not like falling without ends, reaching back. Now I trust more carefully, not colder, just a way. I still believe in deep connection, I just watch who stays when it shakes. I don't give my center away so quickly. I let time speak first, because loving you taught me trust should deepen slowly, or it becomes a place you get hurt. I trusted you too deeply, and I honor that truth. It means I loved honestly, without armor, without rules. I'll trust again, but with balance, with someone who stays aligned. I trusted you too deeply, and learning that is how I finally protect my heart without closing it. This time, some wounds come from loving openly, not foolishly. I trusted you too deeply, and now I trust myself just as much. We said forever, like it was the same word, but we were holding different meanings in our hands. You spoke about forever lightly, like something that could change its mind. I spoke about it like a home to build, like love was meant to arrive and stay in time. We smiled like we were aligned, like hope would do the work, but loving you felt like walking together while wanting different endings from the start. I thought love would meet us halfway, that time would close the space. I didn't know forever could pull apart when two hearts picture it in different ways. We wanted different forever, and that's where love grew thin. I wanted roots and steady mornings. You wanted room to change again. No villain, no broken promise, just truths we couldn't bend. We wanted different forever, and loving you was learning when to stop, asking you to want mine in the end. You planned your life with open doors, never sure where you land. I planned with names and shared routines, with love that held my hand. We stayed in the present too long, hoping it would decide. And loving you felt like delaying a goodbye that was already written between our lives. I confused patience with alignment, hope with being kind. I didn't know love can't survive when only one heart is planning to stay behind. We wanted different forever, even while the love was real. Our futures pulled in opposite ways. Our hearts refused to kneel. No sudden and no sharp goodbye, just distance learning how to speak. We wanted different forever, and that's when the present started feeling weak. Forever isn't just time, it's direction. It's choosing the same road when staying costs you something. I don't blame you for needing freedom, or myself for needing roots. We just weren't walking toward the same horizon with the same truth. Now I listen when futures don't match, when dreams pull us apart. I know love shouldn't feel like convincing someone to see your tomorrow as their heart. I still believe in lasting love and choosing something true. But loving you taught me the right love wants the same forever as you. We wanted different forever, and now I let that rest. Love doesn't fail when past divides. Sometimes it simply does its best. I'll love again where visions meet, where staying isn't a debate. We want it different forever, and letting go is how I finally choose the one that waits for me. Some love ends, not because it's weak, but because forever means different things. We want it different forever, and understanding that is part of my healing. You didn't just leave emptiness, you left an outline, something my life still moves around. Your absence sits where you used to, not loud but always there, in the pauses after laughter, in the space beside my chair. I don't reach for you instinctively now, but I feel where you've been, and loving you feels like knowing exactly what's missing without needing to look again. I thought absence meant nothing. Is that gone meant erase? I didn't know losing someone could leave behind such a precise trace. Your absence has a shape, and I know it by heart. It fits into my quiet moments, into the rooms I walk through in the dark. No sound, no movement, no demand, just presence turned inside out. Your absence has a shape, and learning to live around it is how I slowly learned to live without you now. I notice it in simple routines, in habits that didn't fade, in things I still don't explain to anyone, because you would've understood without words being said. You're not haunting my future, you're not pulling me back, but loving you feels like adjusting to a life that learned your outline and never quite forgot that fact. I confuse moving on with forgetting, healing with being done. I didn't know peace could coexist with the quiet weight of someone gone. Your absence has a shape, not heavy, just real. It doesn't stop me from breathing, it just changes how the air feels. No longing dressed as hope, no past I chase or replay. Your absence has a shape and it stays without hurting. In this gentler way, absence isn't always emptiness. Sometimes it's memory settled into form. It's love learning how to exist without reaching outward. I don't try to fill the space you left, I respect it, because what we had deserves that much quiet honesty. Now I move through my life aware, not wounded, not afraid. I don't avoid the places you still echo, I let them remain. I still believe in love ahead of me, in choosing something new. But loving you taught me some people leave a shape behind that becomes part of who you grew into. Your absence has a shape, and I made peace with that. It doesn't steal my present, it doesn't pull me back. I'll love again without erasing you, without reopening the room. Your absence has a shape, and carrying it gently is how I know I've healed in truth. Some people don't stay, but they don't disappear. Your absence has a shape, and my heart has learned how to hold it without breaking. I didn't love you carefully, I didn't love you halfway. I loved you honestly, even when that meant I might not stay unbroken. I said what I felt when it was real, not when it felt safe to speak. I didn't measure every sentence, didn't hide behind technique. I showed you where I still believe, where hope hadn't learned to lie. And loving you felt like standing in the open without armor, without a place to hide. I thought honesty would protect us, the truth would teach us how to stay. Didn't know love could still end, even when nothing was fake. I loved you honestly, with nothing held back. No games, no second meanings, no versions of me you had to guess at. Not perfect, not guarded, just present and true. I loved you honestly, and even if you couldn't stay there true, still belongs to me. I didn't love you when it was easy, I loved you when it asked for more. When things felt unsure and fragile, when we didn't know what we were fighting for. I stayed transparent in the tension, let my heart speak when it shook. And loving you felt like trusting that being real was enough to be understood. I confused honesty with safety, believed truth would always land. I didn't know some hearts your honesty is something they can't hold in their hands. I loved you honestly, not strategically. I didn't protect myself from loss. I didn't love halfway to leave quietly. No conditions, no disguises, just feeling where it stood. I loved you honestly, and I won't apologize for loving the way I could. Honest love doesn't guarantee staying, it guarantees truth. It shows you who you are when you don't hide your heart. I don't regret loving you this way. I regret doubting myself when honesty felt lonely in a room that wanted silence instead. Now I'm still honest, just wiser. I don't hand my truth to everyone. I listen for who stays present, who doesn't disappear when things deepen. I still believe in love that's open and clarity over control. But loving you taught me honesty needs a safe place to land, to stay whole. I loved you honestly, and that matters to me. It means what I gave was real, even if it couldn't be. I love again without hiding myself, without dimming my truth. I loved you honestly, and that's the part of this story I'll always keep true. Some love doesn't last, but it stays honest. I loved you honestly, and I'm proud of that. You didn't wait for the last page. You didn't stay to hear how it finished. You walked away while the story was still breathing. We were still holding conversations, still calling it just a phase. But something in you stopped arriving, like love was already on its way out of the frame. You stayed in body, not in presence. You nodded more than you spoke, and loving you felt like watching someone quietly exit before the lights went out on what we hoped. Thought endings needed closure, that goodbye would come with a sound. I didn't know someone could leave emotionally and still stand right here on the ground. You left before the ending, before the truth was said, before we named what was breaking, before love was officially dead. No fight, no final sentence, just distance learning how to show. You left before the ending, and I was still loving you like we hadn't reached that moment yet at all. You stopped asking where we were going, stopped correcting me when I said us. I felt the future thinning out, like staying was asking too much. I held on to unfinished meaning. You let go without a sound, and loving you felt like holding the last scene of a story while you'd already put the book down. I confused quiet with patience, stillness with us being okay. I didn't know the ending had already started, because you had already walked away. You left before the ending in ways I couldn't fight, and plans that lost their gravity, and love that stopped choosing sides. You weren't cruel, you weren't harsh, just done before I knew. You left before the ending, and that's what hurt the most, because I never got to leave with you. Some people leave to protect themselves. They exit before things get heavy. They rewrite the ending privately, so they don't have to feel it fully. I don't blame you for choosing peace. I just wish I hadn't been the only one still waiting for the truth to be spoken out loud. Now I listen when presence shifts, when love feels rewritten to go. I know endings don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they happen in slow motion. I still believe in staying until the truth arrives, in endings that are shared. But loving you taught me, if someone leaves before the ending, you're allowed to stop waiting right there. You left before the ending, and now I understand. Love can't finish a story when only one heart is still holding the pen. I'll love again where endings are honest, where staying doesn't disappear. You left before the ending, walking away. Now it's how I finally write my own clear. Some endings don't come at the end, they come when someone leaves early. You left before the ending, and learning to stop waiting, how I finally closed the book. I didn't notice at first. I thought love was asking me to pause, not to stop becoming who I was. I used to move with certainty, with plans that reached ahead, but loving you meant waiting longer, rewriting what I said. I slowed my pace to match your doubts, softened dreams so they'd fit. And loving you felt like choosing patience over momentum, bit by bit. I thought slowing down was compromise, that love just asked for time. I didn't know I was standing still while you were already changing your mind. Loving you slowed me down in ways I didn't see. I paused my growth, I quieted my wants. I stayed where you needed me to be. No demand, no clear request, just waiting dressed as care. Loving you slowed me down, and I didn't realize how far I drifted from myself. Standing there, I stopped chasing things that matter, called it being understanding. I put my timing on hold for you, said love was worth the landing. You moved freely inside uncertainty, I anchored everything I had, and loving you felt like trusting my life around someone who never asked me to do that. I confused patience with alignment, delayed with being kind. I didn't know love shouldn't cost you your own. Loving you slow me down, not gently, quietly. And chances I didn't take in parts of me I let sleep. You weren't wrong, you weren't unfair, just moving at a different speed. Loving you slow me down, and staying that long is how I learned love shouldn't make you wait to be free. Slowing down isn't always peace. Sometimes it's fear of moving on alone. I wasn't choosing rest, I was postponing myself so you wouldn't feel rushed to choose me. And love shouldn't ask you to shrink your future just to keep it alive. Now I move when something calls me, I don't wait for permission anymore. I know love should walk beside me, not ask me to pause at every door. I still believe in shared time, and it's slowing down, and it's true. But loving you taught me, if love slows only one heart, that's not love, that's losing you. Oh, loving you slowed me down, and now I'm moving on. Not in anger, not in regret, just clear about where I belong. I'll love again where growth is shared, where timing meets my truth. And loving you slowed me down, and choosing myself is how I finally pick up my pace and move forward to some love. Doesn't break you, it delays you. Loving you slow me down, and moving again is how I finally feel like me. We survived the silence, we survived the doubt. But when the truth arrived, that's when we fell apart. We talked around the hard things gently, chose comfort over being clear. We learned how to keep the peace between us, even when something real was missing here. I felt the weight behind your answers, you felt mine hesitate. And loving you felt like knowing the truth was waiting just outside the door. We were too afraid to open yet. I thought honesty would save us, the truth would help us stay. I didn't know love could feel this fragile when nothing's left to hide away. We didn't survive the truth when it finally spoke. Not because it was cruel, but because we already knew. And still hold no lies, no betrayal, just clarity we couldn't outrun. We didn't survive the truth, and sometimes knowing is what finally ends what love had begun. You said what you've been holding back, I said what I'd always known. We listened without interrupting, and felt how far apart we'd grown. There was no anger in your voice, no blame inside mine. And loving you felt like realizing, understanding everything didn't mean we could still align. I confused avoiding pain with kindness, silence with being kind. I didn't know truth delayed could hurt more than truth on time. We didn't survive I speak before silence grows heavy. I choose clarity over delay. I know love shouldn't feel like surviving or holding your breath through every day. I still believe in love that lasts truthfully, that doesn't flinch when things get real. But loving you taught me, if love can't survive the truth, it wasn't meant to be healed by pretending what we feel. We didn't survive the truth, and now I let that be. Love doesn't fail because it ends, sometimes it completes. Honestly, I love again when truth is welcome, where clarity doesn't bruise. We didn't survive the truth, and letting it end there is how I finally choose who's true for me. Some loving, not because it lies, but because it tells the truth. Too late. We didn't survive the truth, and accepting that is part of healing. I don't rewrite what we were, I don't call it a phase. You were real to me, and I won't erase that truth. You showed up without rehearsing, without knowing all the rules. You loved me in the way you could then, not perfect but true. I remember the sound of your breathing, the calm when you held my hand, and loving you felt like standing inside a moment that didn't need proof to understand. I thought real meant it would last, that honesty every time. I didn't know something could be this genuine and still not be meant to remain mine. You were real to me, and that still matters now. Even if we didn't stay forever, even if we don't speak somehow, no pretending it meant nothing, no rewriting what we've been. You were real to me, and I'll honor that truth, even as I let go and move on again. You saw parts of me unguarded, parts I don't give away. You knew when I was quiet for a reason, not just tired of the day. We weren't always certain or steady, we didn't always agree, but loving you felt like being understood in a way that stayed with me silently. I confused real with forever, depth with something that won't fade. I didn't know love could be meaningful and still complete its place. You were real to me, not imagined, not a lie, not a lesson dressed as love, not a dream I misread in time. We didn't fail, we just changed. We didn't fake what we felt. You were real to me, and that truth is something I carry for myself. Real love doesn't disappear when it ends. It becomes part of your voice. It teaches you how deeply you can feel, how honestly you can choose. I don't hold on to you to stay, I hold on to the knowing that what we shared was real, and that was enough to change me. Now I trust my heart a little more. I don't doubt what I felt back then. I don't call it weakness or naive hope, I call it loving like a human can. I still believe in love that stays longer, and choosing something new. But loving you taught me real doesn't need forever to be true. You were real to me, and I'm at peace with that. Love doesn't lose its value just because it didn't last. I love again without erasing you, without closing what was true. You were real to me, and honoring that is how I move forward, stronger than I knew. Some love isn't meant to stay forever, but it stays honest. You were real to me, and that will always be enough. I'm not okay yet, but I'm not broken anymore. I'm just healing slowly. I still wake up with your name in my chest. Some mornings heavier than the rest. I don't cry the way I used to, but the ache still knows where to sit. I'm learning how to breathe through memories, how to let the quiet stay. And loving you feels like a chapter I don't reread, but I haven't put away. I thought healing would feel like clarity, like one good night of sleep. I didn't know it would look like patience with the parts of me still learning how to keep. I'm still healing slowly, not behind, just real. Some days I'm strong enough to smile, some days I just feel. No rush to be over it, no shame in what remains. I'm still healing slowly, and that doesn't mean I'm stuck, it means I'm brave enough to stay with the pain until it fades. I've stopped pretending I'm unaffected, stop forcing peace to arrive. I let the memories come and go, now I let my heart survive. You don't control my days anymore, but you still echo sometimes. And loving you feels like understanding that letting go takes longer than goodbye. I confuse healing with erasing, moving on with being done. I didn't know growth could be this quiet or this honest when it's slow. and still becoming. I'm still healing slowly in ways no one can see. In the boundaries I'm learning to keep, in the trust I'm rebuilding inside me. No timeline I owe the world, no finish line to chase. I'm still healing slowly, and that pace is exactly what my heart needs today. Healing isn't linear, it circles, it revisits what you thought you'd pass. But every time it returns, it hurts a little less, teaches you a little more. I'm not weak for moving gently, I'm choosing not to break again, just to look strong. Now I listen to my body more closely, to what feels safe, what feels true. I don't rush toward new beginnings, I let them come when I do. I still believe in love ahead of me, something calm and kind. But healing first means honoring the parts of me that were hurt and still stayed alive. I'm still healing slowly, and I'm proud of that. I didn't harden, I didn't disappear, I didn't pretend I wasn't cracked. I'll love again with softer edges, with wisdom earned through pain. I'm still healing slowly, and every step I take is proof that I'm moving forward, even when it's quiet, even when it's slow. Some healing doesn't make noise, it breathes. I'm still healing slowly, and that's not weakness, that's me choosing to live fully again. I'm not closing the door, I'm just changing how I walk through it. I used to love like I was afraid to lose, like staying meant giving everything away. I confused depth with self-erasure, called endurance a kind of faith. I bend my knees in a silence, let patience speak for me. And loving you taught me that love shouldn't cost my sense of who I'm meant to be. I thought loving harder fixed distance, the more of me would make it stay. I didn't know love can be honest without asking you to break yourself that way. I love again differently, not smaller, just aware, with my feet still on my own ground, with breath to spare. I won't disappear to keep the peace, I won't beg love to choose. I'll love again differently, with honesty that stays and boundaries that protect the truth. I won't rush into unfinished futures or carry hope alone. I'll listen to whatever sounds like, not just what's promised in tone. I'll believe consistency over intensity, presence over words, and loving again feels possible now. Because I know what love is not any longer. A confused connection with attachment, urgency with being real. I didn't know calm could feel this deep, or this safe, or this healed. I love again differently, with patience that includes me. I won't trade my peace for potential. I won't wait endlessly. No chasing someone halfway gone. No hope and pain will prove I'll love again differently, with a heart that's open but no longer unprotected too. Different doesn't mean colder, it means wiser. It means I learned how to stay soft without breaking myself open. I don't need love to rescue me now. I needed to meet me, to walk beside me, to choose me at the same time. I choose it. Now I trust my intuition again. I honor the pose before years. I know love shouldn't feel like proving or surviving a constant stress. I still believe in deep connection, in loving with sincerity. But loving again means loving someone who also loves me responsibly. I love again differently, and that feels like growth. Not guarded, not afraid, just honest about what I need most. I'll give my heart without abandoning myself, without repeating old truth. I love again differently, and this time love won't cost me to be true. Some love teaches you how to feel. Some love teaches you how to stay whole. I'll love again differently, and that difference is here.